everyone, this is Maki. The new Gundam Wing promotional video is packed with exciting details. Last time, I shared a special episode all about my favorite character, Chang Wu-Fei. This time, I'd like to focus on the mobile suits. I'm going to delve into the information about the 4 Gundams and the Tagi issue. There's so much more interesting content in this new promo video. I'll go over everything step by step. First, let's examine the Gundams and the Tagi issue to speculate about the types of battles this new story might depict. But before we jump into that, I have one quick announcement. My channel is now accepting support through memberships. For just 99 cents a month, you can get a name badge and comment stamps. Alright, let's begin the analysis. One thing that really catches your attention when watching the promotional video is whether the footage shows actual events or is more of a conceptual image reel. If the video is simply meant to showcase the coolness of mobile suits, then we probably don't need to worry too much about story consistency. This kind of stylistic presentation was often used during the original broadcast of the Gundam Wing anime series. However, it could also be interesting to view the video as depicting events that either happened or will happen. Currently, official media has announced that a new story is being produced, set between the timelines of Endless Vaults and Frozen Tardrip. In the final scene of Endless Vaults, all the Gundams are destroyed. However, one key element was never explicitly stated. When exactly were the Gundams destroyed? Not even the novel version provides a specific date. After the line, peace was restored in after Colony 197, a symbol is used to indicate a time skip, and then the scene in which the Gundams are destroyed appears. Couldn't we therefore interpret this new promotional video as depicting battles that occurred after Endless Vaults, but before the Gundam's destruction? Also, Volume 6 of Frozen Tardrip features an intriguing line. Characters and machines from Frozen Tardrip appear in the new promotional video. It's clear that the story and setting of Frozen Tardrip are considered an important part of the Wing series. Wouldn't it be safe to say that this is treated as an official setting? There's even a scene where Tro and Kotoro attempt to rebuild the Gundams. However, they realized just how gifted and unorthodox the original Gundam developers were. It took them 12 whole years just to design a new Gundam. If this new story is set between Endless Vaults and Frozen Tardrip, then this detail becomes important. In other words, the cloaked customs shown at the event and newly developed Gundams. They're existing Gundams that have been modified. After the Battle of Endless Vaults, the pilots must have confronted a hidden threat. Additionally, the final scene of Endless Vaults includes narration stating after that mobile suits called Gundams never appeared in history again. Could we interpret the footage in the promotional video as taking place before the final narration? This interpretation would allow the story to remain logically consistent. In other words, the current project might depict events leading up to the era of mobile suits including Gundams from history. By the way, a quick note for those who haven't read Frozen Tardrip. Frozen Tardrip takes place several decades after Endless Vaults. The term mobile suit is basically no longer used. Instead, mass suits and mobile dolls appear. In a way, this avoids contradicting the final narration in Endless Vaults, which said that mobile suits never appeared in history again. Alright, now that we've covered that, let's take a closer look at the promotional video footage. first is Gundam Epyon's firing a volley of weapons in space. This scene didn't appear in Endless Worlds. As I mentioned earlier, there's still a good chance that this is just a video made to showcase the appeal of the mobile suits. However, if we consider it an actual event in the story, it becomes quite intriguing. If you look closely, you notice that the lower background is slightly brighter. It seems as if even though they're in space, the battle is taking place close to Earth's atmosphere. Earlier in the video, we also see the Gundam Death-size Hell fighting on the ground. Perhaps Epyon is intercepting enemy reinforcements from over to support Death-size Hell's ground battle. Immediately after that, we see the Talgi Isu flying at full speed. This scene may simply be meant to highlight a fan favorite mobile suit and may not have any real significance in the story. After all, the Talgi Isu self-destructed in episode 34 of the TV series. But let's consider another possibility. In this new promotional video, we see the Endless Worlds version of the Gundam Epyon. This design was created after the 5 main Gundams were redesigned for Endless Worlds. There is also a manga series that retells the story of the TV anime with the subtitle Endless Worlds. This manga includes the redesigned Gundam Epyon. The new promotional video and the developing story are set to take place between Endless Worlds and Frozen Tardrip. Couldn't the Talgi Isu shown here also be considered the Endless Worlds version? In Endless Worlds, the Talgi Isu is not destroyed, it simply leaves the story. When Zack switches to the Wing Gundam Zero, the Talgi Isu is sealed away. The Endless Worlds version of the Talgi Isu has wing-like components. However, when it's sealed, those parts are removed. Perhaps the Talgi Isu in the new promo video is the repaired version of the one that was sealed away. After the Talgi Isu appears, the Altron Gundam arrives. It rises from a snow-covered city into the sky. At first, the city looks like the one seen in the climax of Endless Worlds. Could this be the scene of the Altron Gundam leaving the area after the battle has ended? Take a closer look, though. The Altron Gundam has activated its Twin Beam Trident. If it was simply departing after a battle, there would be no reason to activate its weapon. Also, focus on the city itself. Think back to the climax of Endless Worlds. In that scene, soldiers discard their weapons and burn their uniforms. However, in this new promotional video, there is no crowd, no fire, and no burning military uniforms. Therefore, we can reasonably conclude that the scene of Altron Gundam flying takes place in a different timeline than Endless Worlds. Then, Gundam Sandrock appears. The context of this scene isn't clear. This is because nothing else is shown besides the Gundam itself. I was really excited when I saw this part. Take a close look at the heat Shotel, Sandrock's signature weapon. You notice that it glows blue. Even the light it emits while attacking is blue. The heat Shotel used in Endless Worlds has been a debated topic among fans. Some believe that it doesn't glow, but still generates extreme heat. Others think it works the same way it does in the TV anime, glowing red when heated, and that it simply wasn't using the heating system during the events of Endless Worlds. In this new promotional video, however, we see a new detail. When the heat Shotel's high temperature mechanism is activated, it glows blue. This seems to confirm that the high heat mode wasn't activated during combat in Endless Worlds, which appears to be the official interpretation. Of course, As I've said many times before, there's always the possibility that this promotional video is simply a stylized reel of images with no regard for detailed settings or narrative consistency. We can't forget that. Finally, Gundam Epyon makes an appearance. As I mentioned earlier, this is the Endless Worlds version of Epyon. One of its key features is the wing deployment mechanism. What happened to this version of Epyon at the end of the story? In that regard, its path follows that of the TV anime. It destroys the main reactor of the massive battleship Libra and disappears in the explosion. There is no clear scene showing its destruction. In Frozen Tundra, however, we learned that Epyon wasn't destroyed. It was actually recovered. However, there's a small inconsistency with the version of Epyon that appears in Frozen Tundra. In Frozen Tundra, Epyon's left arm is silver. This is due to repairs made after it was damaged in the battle with Wing Gundam Zero. However, the Gundam Epyon shown in the new promotional video does not have a silver left arm. How would you interpret this? One possible explanation is that the damage from the battle with Wing Gundam Zero on Libra wasn't the only incident. Perhaps there was another battle with Wing Gundam Zero later, and the damage from that fight resulted in the silver replacement arm. Of course, everything I've discussed in this episode is filled with my own interpretations. If the new promotional video is just a conceptual piece that doesn't follow the story, then everything I've said here might become irrelevant. What kind of battles do you think will take place in the new Gundam Wing story, currently in production? I'd love to hear your thoughts too if you'd like. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. See you in the next episode.